You won't believe what happened when the kid caught an elf on the shelf moving in real life. Today we present 100 of the craziest elf sightings ever recorded. Like this video and subscribe right now. Let's dive in.
Elves on the shelf during the festive season is a common theme for decors, but it seems like the elf in this clip is not up for the festive season, nor does it like its position on the Christmas tree. In this clip, an elf on the shelf, or rather on a Christmas tree, was caught on camera moving from the top of the Christmas tree to another position below. Let's take a look.
This clip shows an elf on the shelf that was caught sitting calmly on top of the bed before starting to raise its hand. Maybe it has a question to ask, who knows?
In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving, but where the other elves on the shelf clips usually have elves moving around with no destination in mind, this elf on the shelf has a purpose, and that's to find its fluffy friend. So let's check it out. Elves on the shelf usually wear red clothes, but there are actually clothes that have other colors like green or even black, which is the rarest. Apparently, they have the strongest magical powers, and in this clip, the black elf was caught trying to steal Skittles from the kitchen counter. The family put a bag of Skittles right in front of the camera, hoping the elf would fall for the bait. The elf had problems opening the door, but eventually reached the Skittles and got caught by the person behind the camera. However, the elf just teleported out of his hand and escaped the dangerous situation.
For this clip, we have footage from a hidden security camera in the kitchen, and one night the camera captured this wonderful moment of an elf on the shelf moving its face right into the lens before starting to dance and hop around on the kitchen counter. The elf had some midnight fun and finally takes off the counter. As this guy records an introduction for his YouTube video, you can see his elf sitting behind him on a closet start to move its arm and wave at the camera. What a spectacular sighting. Now they introduce to their son, the elf, and they make great friends.
Touch him. I'm not supposed to touch him.
An elf on the shelf was caught on camera lifting itself from the inside of Santa's socks and then started moving around the house until it got to the bag where there was a lot of candies inside. After a while of trying to create a sleeping spot for itself in between the candies on the floor, it finally went back to staying inside of the socks. It's probably much warmer than the alternative. This clip was recorded by a girl who was playing with her elf on the shelf in the pantry when she noticed that another elf, this one wearing black clothes, is trying to squeeze under the doors. As she picks up the elf, she notices that he doesn't have any legs, and then the other two elves can be seen waving to the girl from the other side of the doors. According to the girl, the two elves actually locked her inside the pantry, and she had to wait for hours until her mother came back from work to unlock the doors. Who knew that elves could pull such evil pranks off on their owners?
Okay, you don't look as derpy. You look a little wonky. Your hat's coming off, Evel. But look at, there's this perfectly derpy little guy. He looks happy. And then here's this little sad squished guy who lost his legs in surgery. Oh, hello! Welcome! Yes, we have a derpy. We have your members. But guess what? They got a new makeover.
Now we have a clip where this teenager was reading a book while his elf was sitting on a coffee table next to him. Unexpectedly, the elf starts moving, and when its owner notices, he jumps off the chair and runs away. Elves rarely intend to scare their owners, but seeing your elf move on its own can sometimes be scary. Family chronicled the presence of the elf on the shelf, who usually comes to them and then goes back to the North Pole at the end of the year, hopefully to report good things about them to Santa. It would be a shame if the elf's report made its own owners end up on the naughty list. This kid was introducing their elf on the shelf named Jingle, and later he leaves the elf in front of the camera in an attempt to capture it moving on video. Naturally, he does indeed move, but then it vanishes into thin air. But just think for a second, what if the elf simply didn't move at all while the video was being recorded? That would be extremely embarrassing for those attempting to catch them, but luckily this clip is a success. If you think elves are not intelligent, then this video will make you reconsider your stance on that, because this particular elf on the shelf displayed elf intelligence by using a grappling hook to climb the table and open the sweet jar from Santa. Now we have a clip of an elf who started moving at midnight, and at first the elf climbed up the Christmas tree, and that's when it probably noticed the camera recording it, but instead of running away, the elf slowly made its way down the Christmas tree and approached the camera, giving it a long examination. This elf was really curious about the camera and wasn't afraid of it at all. The owner of the clip wants us to share the video before the government sees it and decides to ban it because officially elves on the shelf are just toys and can't come alive. Anyways, it's just another elf on the shelf moving while the family is sleeping, and we can agree that while this is nothing new, a moving elf is always amazing to watch. So let's see how this one goes.
This clip shows two elves on the shelf potty training. Well, kinda, because it seems like the second elf has left her many gifts on the toilet seat and a note, which suggests that the elf isn't as much potty training as pranking her owner. At least elves poop candy, so this entire situation is not as bad as it could have been. Just imagine what could have been an alternate to that.
They're everywhere. Oh my. Have to say your outfit's looking mighty beautiful. Along with your eyeballs. Oh, look. She has a note for us. Hoo, you can't go. Oh, but I really gotta go. I have to go potty. What am I gonna do?
If there's one thing elves are good at, it's turning a situation around in their favor. When an elf on the shelf was caught moving on camera, it decided to turn the situation around and tease the camera instead. This elf on the shelf got super mad at the kids for making it angry, and it got discovered sitting and flipping one of the kids off. The elf even left a note explaining that it's angry because the kids were behaving badly towards it. And well, while the elf should be setting a good example for the kids to follow, we can't blame it for losing its temper. This clip was captured by a man who set up a camera to catch his elf on the shelf floating around his bedroom before it started moving towards his pillows and acting as if it had gone to sleep, and finally moving down the bedside to hide on the floor.
We have a clip from a YouTuber who captured this elf on the shelf swinging on the hammock. We guess that Santa doesn't have hammocks at the North Pole, and that's why this elf decided to try its owner's hammock instead. But that's not even the most fascinating part of the clip, because at the very end, the elf just vanishes out of thin air on the hammock.
Thingy-majig, I don't even know what that's called, guys. Wait, where'd he go? Dude, he's not in there anymore. Dude! All right,
It doesn't matter how long it takes when an elf on the shelf decides to do something, because they do it eventually. In this clip, a kid sets up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving on camera, and what this camera managed to capture will scare you and will make you question everything you know about elves on the shelf. So let's check it out. It's time for some vitamins, and this elf on the shelf knows the right vitamin to pick from. In this clip, the elf on the shelf is trying its best to move the oranges on the table, and after much struggle, it gave up and decided to nap by resting on one of the oranges instead. A makeshift pillow out of an orange is something we never thought was possible, but this elf proved us wrong.
In December 2013, an office was explored by an elf on the shelf, and it was caught wandering around with 4 surveillance cameras. The team was able to observe every inch of the movement of the elf, which roamed all around the office, checking out the Christmas lights and other decorations. Finally, camera 4 captured the elf moving into another room and coming back holding a piece of paper, which is a scan of itself. The elf probably thought that's how humans take selfies.
The elf on the shelf in this next clip will rather choose to play hide and seek in the kitchen than stay put in one position, so let's check it out.
For this clip, we have an incredible sighting of an elf appearing in front of the camera out of thin air before slowly making its way towards the recording device. Not long after, the elf uses its magic again to vanish out of thin air, but just a second later, the camera starts shaking and another elf on the shelf pops right into frame. Now we have a clip of this roaming elf who starts its journey on the bed before making its way on the Christmas tree. The owner of the elf is recording it without being noticed with its special binoculars, which allow him to see the elf from afar. This is why the elf moves freely and roams all around the house. What an incredible clip.
We think we're beginning to notice a pattern with some of these elves on the shelf. Some of them might enjoy getting caught in the living room, bedroom, and any other room, but they seem to hate getting caught in the kitchen. Is it because Santa makes them do all the cooking at the North Pole? It seems that way as we watch this clip of an elf jumping down the kitchen countertop and making a run for it.
For this clip, we have an elf who decided to surprise its sleeping owner by descending from the ceiling and hopping onto her head, which was enough to wake up the girl. Surprisingly, she gets scared and starts shouting. Perhaps she didn't see that it was an elf, and that's why she got so scared.
Somebody, please!
Now we have a clip of this elf on the shelf caught moving around during the daytime. It starts its journey from Santa's lap and slowly makes its way towards the camera, where it peeks its head right in the middle of the frame before turning off the recording.
Elf on the Shelf really loves standing and clinging onto the Christmas trees, and it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see this amazing elf find his way up the Christmas tree.
Up next, we have a crazy clip of an elf named Pogo hosting a pool party in the sink. At first, the elves fill the sink with water and then bring some inflatable toys, so every elf in the house would know that it's a party. After Pogo tests out its inflatable flamingo, it invites its elf friends to join in the sink. As you can see, elves definitely not a party.
Looking good. Let's put in our flamingo. So heavy. Uh-oh. Now we need the rubber ducks. Let me touch my friends to see if they can come over. We're here. Hi there, everybody. Uh-oh.
In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on camera playing by itself around the house, a classical moving elf on the shelf. This clip shows elves that got sick and because of that have turned into candy canes. Luckily, their owners knew exactly what to do and prepared a special potion that cured the elves and brought them back into their usual elf form. This is just amazing to see that a few drops of magic potion can treat the elves, so let's check it out.
Don't worry, Elvis. We are going to turn you back to normal. 1, 2. One little drop. Elvis is back to normal. Yay!
Because they heard noises coming from the cereal box the night before, the family set out to find what this elf was up to and trap him before he can get away. In order to catch the elf, they set up a camera the next day. Because of this, the hunch turned out to be right. He was hanging out and eating some sugar cookie cereal. In any case, let's check out the video and see what happened at the end.
So all of us know that elves are super talented and they can do many different things and also use magic, which makes many things much easier for them than it would be for us humans. However, this elf was captured working at a mini construction site as if he was trying to build something. The elf is even wearing a safety helmet instead of the usual Christmas hat, so we can only wonder what the elf was building.
Now we have a short clip of an elf on the shelf curiously approaching a camera, and it seems like the elf kisses the camera, but then he suddenly flips it over moments before it stops recording.
An elf on the shelf played hide and seek with the camera as it moved around what seemed to be like a kitchen. After playing hide and seek with the camera for a while, it had to be forced into permanent hiding when the dog came into the kitchen. We think this elf was afraid of the dog snitching on it.
From hiding behind the wall to coming out to play around the house to finally choosing the right spot to hide to avoid cameras, this elf has got a lot of decisions to make.
This clip captures one elf who's wearing green clothes turning his fellow elf into a pile of candy cane dust. The owner of these elves was shocked to discover what looks to be a crime scene, and we can only hope that the other elf will return to normal instead of remaining just a pile of crushed candy canes. Who knew that elves could use such dangerous magic? Just imagine if your elf would decide to cast this spell on you and turn you into candy cane dust.
Start the elf off the shelf. And then, this is what I discovered. And it's, wait, is this, it looks like, yeah, it is. It's Buddy. Buddy's hat, the elf on the shelf, and what in the world? He turned into something. Was it Zart? What is this something? Look, let's take a close-up look. Whoa! Whoa, yeah, it does. It looks like candy cane mints. Buddy? Oh dear. Zart, what in the world did you do?
This clip shows footage from a hidden camera which captured an elf on the shelf flying. You can see one elf standing on top of what seemed to be a table and leaning on a glass candle holder, but after a while the elf suddenly sets off for a quick flight and finally comes towards the camera to stare at it. The elf probably noticed that it had recorded everything, and now it wants to turn it off and delete the footage. This shows elves on the shelf caught red-handed at the scene of their crime. It's the second day of Thanksgiving, and these elves must have been angry about not getting an invite to eat because they ended up breaking into the family fridge and having a feast. We can learn from this clip that it's better to just invite your elves to Thanksgiving because they might get their piece of dinner one way or another. Some elves on the shelf are super funny like this one. It was just chilling on a Christmas tree and looked straight into the camera and raised its hand in a dabbing position. It's just insane. It makes you think whether it's something Santa's teaching the elves or it's just this elf that's seen the kids do it many times and wanted to try it itself.
In this short clip, we can hear the chef elf on the shelf talking, and we can also see his friend walking behind his back.
To go, so I'll see you next year, and I can't wait to see how.
This clip shows an elf on the shelf trying to escape being captured on camera. You can see the elf just dashing out of frame, and then its owner goes around the house looking for the elf until he finds it sitting in an interesting position, so keep on watching.
Benji, what are you doing?
Now we have a rare instance of an angry elf on the shelf who saw the hidden camera and attacked it. The elf punches and even headbutts the camera. The elf probably got angry at its owner for trying to catch it moving because the elves can't allow themselves to be recorded in motion. The elf keeps punching and hitting the camera before flipping it over at the very end of the clip. What a rare sighting of an elf on the shelf moving. This clip shows an elf who wanted Kellogg cereal so bad that it literally dived right inside the box where it enjoyed eating cereal. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught flying on camera. This clip was recorded by a man who set up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving, and after a while, his elf on the shelf flew into the living room and started moving around, but eventually it did something that will surprise you, so keep on watching. This clip shows an elf on the shelf jumping up and down the bedroom and getting caught on the camera while doing so, but when it discovers it's being filmed, the elf could only think of a place to hide, and its choice will surprise you, so keep watching. Up next, we have a clip of this girl setting up a camera right in front of an elf who's sitting right under the Christmas tree. As soon as the girl leaves the room, the elf uses magic to teleport out of sight only to reappear right in front of the camera. The elf starts moving and leaves the frame before returning right in front of it shortly after. What a wonderful clip of an elf on the shelf moving.
Our next elf on the shelf caught on camera shows the elf trying to find the right position for it to either sit or rest. The elf is seen moving towards the sink before moving away and then tries to rest on the counter before changing its mind again, and that must have been why it was spotted on the camera that was recording its every movement.
Up next, we have a classical clip of an elf on the shelf moving on camera, but this elf is really playful and it keeps walking out of frame just to walk back in it. It seems like the elf knows that it's on camera and being recorded, so the elf decides to do a little show and have some fun. The elf keeps playing around before disappearing for the final time. What a marvelous clip.
Now we have a clip that captured the spontaneous moment when this dad got their elf on the shelf moving in the middle of the night. Right before this footage, he was told by kids that they should put on a CCTV camera to catch the elf, and so here we are. It turns out you should listen to your kids, especially when it comes to magical stuff like you're witnessing in this clip.
In this clip, the elf on the shelf was caught moving towards the sleeping dog, and at first it seems like the elf was just having fun and dancing around the dog, but then the elf turns to its furry friend with a treat.
As you might know, elves on the shelf move around only during the night so they can't be seen by humans, but this clip shows something different because it proves that some elves also move during the day and even scare children in broad daylight. Just look at this elf simply chilling at the fireplace. It's one of the stranger clips because it's super weird to see an elf moving in bright daylight, and it even seems to be aware of the fact that he's being recorded, but it doesn't stop him from moving, so let's check it out. A hidden camera captured an impressive display of magic by an elf, and it's nothing short of awesome. Too bad the elf went into hiding afterwards and we couldn't see more of it.
We have a clip of this kid capturing his elf on the shelf enjoying some Tic Tacs. When the boy points the camera at the elf, it doesn't move, but when the kid turns around and it returns to the elf, you can see that the arms have moved and it starts eating Tic Tacs. It's one of the many clips where elves are too shy to move on camera, but as soon as you leave their presence, they start moving.
I have to go and see what it was.
In this incredible clip, we have an elf hanging from the bed curtain frame, and suddenly it starts moving and slowly making its way to the other side of the frame using only its hand. Now this elf is probably a gymnast back in the North Pole, and perhaps even elves have athletic competitions, so this elf decided to put in some time into training while it's away from its friends. Now we have a clip where you can see a hungry elf walking towards the pantry, opening its doors and starting to steal food. At first, the elf takes some kind of snack bag and probably brings it to its secret hideout, but then the elf returns to steal another chocolate cake mix. While what the elf did isn't nice, it's still a marvelous clip. While this is one of the shortest clips on the list, the surprise it packs will give you thrills. Not only did we get to see an elf that decorates, but we also got an elf on the shelf that would go into hiding immediately rather than admire its own work. For the residents of this house, elves on the shelf might not be on the budget for next Christmas, and we can't blame them, and neither will you after watching this clip of their elf on the shelf clearly enjoying throwing tantrums and making his opinions known by trashing his owner's kitchen, opening shelves and fridge to rearrange everything inside, and then proceeding to dump some on the ground. In this clip, we have a rare type of elf on the shelf, and at very first it was laying dormant until suddenly it started moving, leaving the frame before returning and making its way towards the camera. The elf gives it a good look before noticing that it's recording, and because the elves are super instructed by Santa not to get caught moving, the elf quickly disappears from sight. For this clip, we have an elf sitting between some toys and it slowly starts moving before getting up and leaving the frame. Seconds later, the elf shoves its head right into the camera from above and finally flips it over. This elf probably wasn't happy about its owner trying to record it moving.
This clip features these elves on the shelf sitting harmlessly on the floor, but it's probably one of the creepiest clips of elves on the shelf we've ever seen. It just looked like two elves rocking back and forth, which is already creepy enough, ended on a surprising note, so let's check it out.